This is a Kirblog, so deal with it. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. See what I did there? It's good. Not as if you don't get enough of that shit from me at the end of every GameXplain I'm ever on. I'm joined today by two first-time guests. Derrick, hello, sir.
Hello.
And Ash, hi.
Hi there.
From GameXplain. Thank you guys for joining. So this is, I know I always say, like, oh, I've been sitting on this topic for a long time, but I have been sitting on this one for, I want to say, like, well over a year now, maybe even close to a year. But as we've now started in February, the month of love, I thought, why not start off with something that is involved with a lot of heart-shaped things, as you know, this isn't coming out on Valentine's Day or anything. But this question comes from TheKingMickey, who said, "Hey Kirb, I'm sorry, give me a moment."
Hey Kirb, I just got through listening to your Kirblog about shipping, and I noticed you said in it that you like Kingdom Hearts. I was wondering if you could maybe do a Kirblog about that series. What got you into the games? What are your favorite aspects of the story, characters, and gameplay? What are the worst aspects? And finally, what do you expect from Kingdom Hearts 3? Thanks, and I hope you have a great day.
And if you haven't closed the window from the song, you close the window right there, so thank you. Anyway, I brought on Ash and Derrick because these two are amongst the biggest Kingdom Hearts fans that I'm acquainted with, and I thought this would be fun to tackle with them. So I'm going to let you guys start, whichever of you wish to first. What are your earliest memories of when Kingdom Hearts 1 came back in, I can't even believe this, what was it, 2002 or 3, I think, by then?
I think so, because I remember being in, excuse me, I remember being in high school and getting, I had subscriptions to all the different gaming magazines, the official PlayStation magazine and Electronic Gaming Monthly and all that. And then one month you saw this like news about Kingdom Hearts, this weird crossover between Disney and Square, specifically Final Fantasy is how they always labeled it. And it's just like, you look at it and be like, what the hell? It made no sense. But then you thought about it, especially me at that time. I was a extremely loyal Square Enix fan. I don't even know if they weren't even Square Enix at that point. They were still Squaresoft. And right. I would buy every single game that they came out with. So, love Final Fantasy. Grew up as a Disney kid. I'm like, you know what? I'll give this a shot. I'm willing to take a shot at it and seeing what it's all about. And that was basically my earliest memory.
Okay.
Yes. Well, my earliest memory, I believe back then, I was actually already attending E3. I don't really know how I was able to work that out, but I was already attending and kind of covering E3, I think for actually GameShark.com that year. How weird is that, right?
Wow.
Wait, you worked for like the device, like the cheat thing?
Yeah, they had for some reason they had a website where they would post reviews and news and things, which made no sense because it was just GameShark. But yeah, but somehow they got a hold of me and they didn't pay me. I was like 15 or something, but they would send me games to review, and I wish I got to keep. So for me, that was payment at the time. Wow. Okay. So I think I was covering E3 for them or someone, but somehow I got in. I think I was like 16. And that was back during the days when Square still had theaters at their E3 booths, which I still miss today. And so, of course, I waited in line for like a couple of hours just to get into the theater because I was a Squaresoft nut. Still am. And I saw Kingdom Hearts. I saw the original trailer, the first ever Kingdom Hearts trailer in E3. Kind of where it first debuted, and I remember just getting goosebumps from the super dramatic, super anime story, and I love stuff like that, which I'll get into later. But I was never, I always liked Disney growing up, but I never had a problem with Disney. But I am not by any means a Disney hardcore fan at all. So I thought the Disney crossover is cool, but I was more into Sora and Riku and Kairi and their story. And I was like, I have to play this. And then it just so happened that I was able to get into the Kingdom Hearts 1 launch party in Los Angeles because my dad, of course, is a pretty prolific voice actor. And he had connections and was able to get me into this invite-only launch party. And that was kind of my earliest memory with, the original Kingdom Hearts.
Talk about
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember did he voice anybody in the first one?
He did not, no.
Okay. Because I know he did Jacques in Birth by Sleep for the Cinderella stage.
Yeah, so you even know his name. I just call him the Duke from Cinderella.
Yeah, the dude from Cinderella. Well, the Duke and that's right. He's also the Duke.
Yeah, the Duke and the mouse.
Guy. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot he's Jacques. Yeah, okay. Jacques is the mouse. I actually completely forgot about that.
Yeah. He probably did too, to be fair. So, I'm trying to even realize. So by the first trailer, then you must mean like the one with like there was that shot of like Riku on Big Ben that was never used in the final game, and like oh my god, that must have been insane to see that just like on a big screen.
It was amazing. And I was so hyped because I love, like I said, I love super dramatic stories like that, and I'm like, this is totally right up my alley, and I can't wait for this. And I pretty much became a fan just upon the viewing of that first trailer. Of course, I didn't know how the gameplay would work out, but I ended up, enjoying the games themselves quite a bit, and I've been a fan ever since.
My God, I feel like there's very few people who even like would have that story to tell with the beginning of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I guess so. I sometimes forget how long I actually have been going to E3. I've been covering / going to E3. I think I started when I was 15 or something. I don't know how I got in. Of course, the rules were a lot more lax back then. But
yeah, fair enough.
But it gave me a lot of practice for feature shows when I'd actually go as an adult and cover it as a professional. So
awesome. Well, for the underprivileged of E3, for me. It was very strange. I remember. Well, first of all, because I'm going to be mentioning him about 700 times in this one probably. So Mike Lucas, my best friend, who I actually just the other day before we're recording this on the first of the month actually, and just yesterday, Mike Lucas and I beat Kingdom Hearts 2 on the 2.5 HD Remix collection thing. I remember him telling me he was over my dad's place one day, and he was telling me, I just heard about this game that's going to be like Final Fantasy and Disney crossing over, and he was a big Final Fantasy VII fan, and so I knew of a lot of the characters and everything because he had a PlayStation. I didn't have any Sony systems at the time because I was still a pure Nintendo kid, really. But I was hearing about this, and I was like, that doesn't sound... Because by that point, I think we had heard, like, April Fool's jokes, and I think we had already fallen for the whole, like, Sonic and Tails are in Smash April Fool's thing. So I was like, that's got to be bullshit. There's no way. And then one day, he and I walk into an electronics boutique, which for those of you who don't know what that is, unless you're in Canada, and that's what it is for everything, that was before GameStop took over and ate every major game...
I remember the old days when we actually had Variety, Funkoland, EB Games. Those were always better.
Yep. Yeah. Well, EB Games, I think, just is GameStop in Canada.
Yeah, pretty much.
KB Toys. Remember them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I had KB Toys in my mall.
I did, too.
So we went to an electronics boutique, and we walk in, and there was a player's guide for Kingdom Hearts, and we see it with these the anime-looking kids and Donald and Goofy, and we're just like, oh, my God. And we pop open the book, and I'm scrolling through, and my mind... again, not to poke fun. It probably wasn't anything nearly as like, oh my God, as seeing the trailer, but just looking at the oh my God, Simba's in it. Oh my God, Cloud is in it. Oh my God, what? This can't be fucking real. Holy shit! And before we knew it, the game was out, and Mike had a PS2, so he was my gateway into those games. So at first, I was going to his place and watching him play. Through the first game, and we didn't get super far, but then eventually I believe it was when the first Dragon Ball Z Budokai game came out, because by that point I was like, alright, fuck it, I need a PlayStation 2. I can't so I finally got a PlayStation 2, broke my Nintendo oath, I guess you could say, and was very happy because there was tons of good shit on PS2, and I don't regret that at all. And I got my copy, and I know, that's right, I forgot, I also bought Mike his copy for his birthday, I think probably with the ulterior motives of wanting to play it at his house.
Of course.
We've all done stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I think I've bought Mike lots of games for his birthday, even up to recently. So it wasn't too different or anything. But either way, I did eventually get my own copy and play the shit out of it myself. And yeah, just was absolutely fixated on that game. I will say, before the next actual like part of the subject, because that was I've done like kind of other sub-Kirblog topics about like kind of the magic of that time when, like, you know, it wasn't as easy to immediately disprove rumors, and there were a lot of things floating around, like especially when Final Mix came out and there was the Unknown, which turned out to be Xemnas later. Do you guys remember anything like from that time? Like, I guess the kind of, I hesitate to say the magic of it, but just like when when rumors were flying about like what's going to come next and what's happening with this whole franchise or whatever, anything like that. Do you remember?
Well, the funny thing with me is I was very closed off from that sort of wide news space. My parents didn't have the greatest internet back in those days. Even then, we were I think we were still dial-up. We didn't get high speed until I was in college, and that's basically I experienced high speed in college. And I'm like, I got home, and I'm like, we need better internet. I demanded it because I could not go back to dial-up. And, so I didn't have great internet to check out all this stuff. So I mainly relied on magazines, and each month just seeing like, okay, now there's a Tarzan world, there's an Alice in Wonderland world, there's a Aladdin world, and it's just like mind-blowing. And the funny thing is, unlike Ash, I was more concerned about the Final Fantasy characters and the Disney worlds. I didn't care about Sora, Kairi, Riku, any of the original characters whatsoever. To me, this was just an avenue to experience these worlds, and I just kept like my mind kept blowing up. Like, what am I going to be able to do? What am I going to be able to experience? And like that. Oh man, you're throwing magic around in real time. That's crazy that you're able to fight them and not have to do turn-based combat like in a Final Fantasy setting. I can't wait to experience this. It's just that whole like. Your imagination ran wild with what you would be able to do since you only could go off pictures, really.
Oh, well, let me be clear. I was super into finding out which Final Fantasy characters were going to be in. And I thought each new Disney character review was pretty cool, too. I was just all about the Square stuff and not the Disney stuff as much. But no, like, seeing, like, Waka and Tidus and Leon Squall for the first time, I was just like, oh, this is so cool, and Squall looks so cool in this game. And no, I was all about the new Final Fantasy characters, seeing them in this new kind of context and having these cool redesigns. No, I was all about it. And actually, I don't know if you guys remember, but the tagline for the original Kingdom Hearts was something like, you never know who you'll run into next. And that kind of formed the cornerstone of my own hype for the game, because I was following it as closely as I could, just waiting for each next character or world reveal. And like I said, even though I wasn't a Disney nut, I still loved finding out, oh hey, we get to explore, the Little Mermaid world. I don't think I knew it was called Atlantica at the time, but I was like, oh man, we get to explore Little Mermaid. We get to explore, all these Tarzan, all these cool different movies, and with these Final Fantasy characters and these original characters whose designs I love. No, I was all about following the hype as closely as I could, and I have been, but that's been me for years. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I was following. I had subscriptions to EGM, GamePro, Nintendo Power. That's just been. I've been, I guess, just a child of the industry for as long as I can remember. So the way in which I followed Kingdom Hearts was really no different in the way I followed any other game I was super excited about. But I certainly remember the magic of that time, no doubt.
It's funny, too. I realized something when you're talking about the Final Fantasy characters as well. Truthfully, to everybody, I'm going to turn in my nerd card now. The only Final Fantasy game I've actually played before were 4 and 5, and I've only played up to the first dungeons of each of those. I've never... I really just didn't have a lot of them. If anything, Mario RPG is probably the closest thing to a Final Fantasy game, quote-unquote, I've ever really played, which is kind of pathetic. But I am totally going to get 7 Remake, because I need that shit. But what's interesting to me is because I realized 10 just came out right before that, and they had Tidus and Waka and who else from 10?
Selfie. Selfie's 8.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I think it was only Tidus and Waka.
No, it was just Tidus and Waka. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, then they had Auron and the 3 girls in there in the second one too. But yeah, Final Fantasy X. What was that 2001?
Yeah, 2001.
Like
yeah.
Yeah, so that must have been interesting because that was right after that because that game was a huge deal when that first came out. So to see immediately after that, here's the cute teenage versions of them living on Destiny Islands or whatever. I realized from a Final Fantasy fan's perspective must be kind of strange, I guess.
Well, it's kind of brilliant that they did it with those two characters because they were the most recent ones, so there's not really as much of a connection as people would be much more upset if they did that same sort of thing with Cloud or Squall. But to do that with two characters that were very new at the time, I never thought about it before, but that's really brilliant. The only ones that could really do that too. Selphie was the exception, of course, that you could de-age like that, but she was always kind of kid-like in the first place with Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too. I remember when X2 was coming out. I don't think I've ever told this story on Kirblog before, but in a magazine article, they were talking about, Final Fantasy X2 will star Yuna, Pain, and Riku. And I was like, oh, like Riku from Kingdom Hearts? Oh, maybe. And so originally what I thought was, is Destiny Islands like where Final Fantasy characters like grow up and then they go off and become like stars in their own adventures, like in Final Fantasy world or whatever? And I didn't realize that. No, that's Riku with 2Ks, completely different character.
Right.
Actually. Oh, sorry. So that was weird to me, and then I realized that those were two completely different. They're treated really like completely different products from everything. Kingdom Hearts is just entirely its own universe, more or less.
Well, I gotta say, Chris, you're making me break out in spontaneous, uncomfortable itches every time you say Final Fantasy X2.
I'm sorry. That's so weird. I usually do say it. I don't know why I just said X2. That's unusual for me. I apologize.
I was like, we should be talking about Mega Man if we're talking about X2.
Mega Man X2. Mega Man. That's another Kirblog someday. But that will be when that one happens. That'll be mostly Ash talking about Mega Man X, I imagine.
Yeah,
probably.
I also a little quick minor thing too. I remember when Chain of Memories comes out. I have no fucking idea why I thought this, but because I was so intrigued by the Black Coats unknown, or what became the organization characters when Final Mix came out in Japan, and I was following all that stuff, and this too. I'm remembering all these things. You're delving into my brain, everybody. So back in the day, my dad and I used to scour eBay for stuff. This was before, like, obviously Amazon was like, you could just get anything you wanted, before YouTube existed even. There was a guy who was selling a videotape that had all of the new footage from everything that was in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. It was just video that had all of that
Nice.
stuff and all the new cutscenes, all the new boss fights and everything. And I bought it, and we sent in a letter for it. And on the letter, I drew some pictures of like Sora and Cloud and Sephiroth and I think Kairi or something, and sent in the thing to the guy, and with the check, that is. And then when the tape came in the mail, we got a letter from the person on eBay saying, "Hey, thanks so much for the really cool artwork. I gave you a little something extra. Hope you enjoy." And so in addition to the video, he gave me a little CD that had, I think it was like the 3 or 4 extra tracks that were only in Final Mix. So it was like Night on Bald Mountain, One Winged Angel, the fight music from when you battle Xemnas in Hollow Bastion, and then the Deep Dive trailer music, which I would watch that like an infinite amount of times. The original Deep Dive.
Oh yes.
Another Side, Another Story.
Oh god, me too.
Back before.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, back before YouTube, of course, you couldn't just look that up anytime you wanted. So I had a save point specifically left just so I could watch Deep Dive anytime I wanted, because that trailer was so cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I must have beaten Ansem so many times just to go watch the trailer again, the Deep Dive trailer, because it was just so provocative. It just made my imagination run wild as to what could possibly be happening in this trailer that makes the Kingdom Hearts world so much darker and more futuristic, and it completely blew my mind. And like you said, Derek, that was before the days of YouTube, so you couldn't just go on the internet and just watch whenever you wanted. You had to beat the game. And I must have beaten that game, God, 50 times or something after I just playing from the last save point at the end of the world.
And that was the shorter version on the international American Kingdom Hearts, I think, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
See, this was, I think, my equivalent of, like, I got to go to E3, or like my cool thing was, because of that videotape, I had the longer, like, full version of the Deep Dive trailer from Final Mix. And I would just rewatch it ad nauseum. I'd show all my friends, like, "Oh my god, look at all this stuff with the Coats and Mickey and all this shit," and of course, like that great track by Yoko Shimomura, which became the kind of the theme of Organization 13, more or less. And also, when what I was going to get to was when Chain of Memories stuff was coming out from Japan. By that point, my internet was better, and I could keep up with news sites and things. I remember seeing a picture of Marluxia. And I have no idea why I thought this, but for some reason I thought that he looked like an older version of Sora. And I thought, oh man, is this like evil Sora from the future? Which is, obviously the farthest thing from the truth. But I guess I was predicting the fact that 20 games later they were going to be doing a fucking time travel story.
Well, you must have almost had a heart attack when you saw Vanitas' true face. Then,
oh
we're
yeah,
talking about evil Soras.
See, well, we'll probably get to that, but something about Birth by Sleep, I predicted something else about that I was very proud of. But kind of moving on from that, so next kind of part of the question was, what are your favorite aspects of the story, characters, and gameplay? So I mentioned earlier, I had just finished playing through both 1 and 2 on the HD collections. We've been borrowing those from Ben Diskin, the voice of young Xehanort, and his girlfriend Heather. They played through all of them together recently, because Ben and Heather are also massive Kingdom Hearts fans, and they send their love to everybody. So Mike and I are playing through those, and we're actually just about to start playing through Birth by Sleep, which I've watched but never actually played in full, and I'm excited to, because for the very brief time that I played Birth by Sleep, I actually think I enjoyed, and it was, I think, just like a couple levels of Aqua's campaign. I think I enjoyed the gameplay of that one more so than either of the first 2 numbered games, because playing through them, and I think it's fair for us to say, as Kingdom Hearts fans, we are willing to accept the many faults and shortcomings of the franchise for various reasons.
Yep.
And I do like the 2 original first games for what they are, but seeing them again and playing them as an adult and seeing there's definitely probably much better action RPG games than this. There's probably much better executed story experiences than this. They're still enjoyable for what they are. Birth by Sleep, I'm the most excited to finally get into playing, but I know that obviously for most people, and especially those who didn't play a lot of the spin-offs or anything like Chain of Memories and 358 Days and all that stuff, they remember the original 2 the most. So what are you guys, in terms of favorite particular things that about really any of them that really stood out to you?
Well, I'm actually right there with you, Chris. Birth by Sleep is easily my favorite in the series from a gameplay standpoint. I loved it. Just felt like they really found what worked and what clicked. They'd had enough games to kind of iron out what didn't work and kind of experiment with different iterations in the same core battle system. And then with Birth by Sleep, it came together. It was firing on all cylinders. I loved the idea of ability cooldowns. I loved how you could mix and match abilities, and how it was more fast paced, and there was a lot more depth to it with the shot lock system and the I can't remember what is like the drive. I can't remember the name for it, but when you do like a specific transformation during battle, I think it's called the drive system. I can't remember now, but yeah, I mean, I easily enjoyed Birth by Sleep the most from a gameplay standpoint. It could be said that there are a lot better action RPG experiences out there than the first 2 games, but honestly, what a lot of critics treat as an objective shortcoming of the series is one of my favorite things about it, and that's the super heavy-handed storytelling. I know it's not for everybody, and that's fine. If it's not for you, go play something else. But it's not an objectively negative thing. There are those of us out there who enjoy that really corny, heavy-handed storytelling, and I fully admit that Kingdom Hearts will always have me on lock, because I can't get enough of that just soap opera like ridiculous storytelling. And is the story from a technical standpoint kind of a mess? Sure, totally admit it. Do I care? Not one bit, because you know what, Dream Drop Distance made the story probably almost incomprehensible. But I mean,
just that one section.
Well, and I'm one of those people who will defend, like people on NeoGAF saying, "Oh, just right off Kingdom Hearts' story as being completely incomprehensible after the first one." I completely disagree. The stuff about Organization 13, the Nobodies, everything that happens in Birth by Sleep, it all tells a pretty coherent story that I think is actually pretty compelling. Now, Dream Drop Distance, I kind of feel like maybe it went off the rails a bit. But all that said, every time Sora gives an inspirational speech about the power of friendship and the power of the heart and the fact that he is going to triumph and save all the people who are suffering because of how much he loves his friends, I'm there every single time. I don't care.
Yeah.
I get caught up in it, and flaws be damned, I love that stuff. So that is by far, other than Birth by Sleep from a gameplay standpoint, that is why I come back to Kingdom Hearts. I'm coming to Kingdom Hearts 3 50 years later as an old man, not because I can't wait to see the next iteration on the gameplay, which I am excited about that too, but because I want to see how this story ends, and I know that Tetsuya Nomura is going to absolutely knock it out of the park if Kingdom Hearts 2's final battle and Birth by Sleep's final battles are anything to go by. He's going to knock it out of the park from a cinematic, dramatic standpoint.
I mean, the thing is, I'm right there with you, Ash. Birth by Sleep is by far my favorite game in the series. Not only because of the combat system, which you summarized very well, and it showed all the reasons why it's so good. And the three characters actually did feel very different from one another. They had all the same abilities, yet their styles were just completely different, and it just added up to a great whole. And I think you're skipping ahead a little bit to a weakness, and that Kingdom Hearts, I think, always has, is that it has a very saggy middle every time. The beginnings are always very interesting and get you intrigued. The endings always ramp up and are amazing, and you can't wait to go through them and see everything that's going to happen. The climaxes are always just so much fun. But then that middle part, you're just visiting Disney worlds and getting a lot of fluff. And the funny thing is that I went from not caring about the characters at all to loving these new characters so much, and them being the main drive behind it. Like, okay, cool, this Disney World's coming in, or this Final Fantasy character is going to be there. That's great and all, but I want to see where these characters progress. And Birth by Sleep cuts out all that fat by having these three interlocking stories that tell a cohesive whole, but there's no fat. Each one feels like they build off something, and each world you visit has something that builds on their story. You might not agree or like everything that happens within that story, but I still felt like the plot was progressing at a consistent pace. And you want to talk about those like overwrought moments, Ash. Every single game, my God, it has a way to make me just like get tears in my eyes. The ending, the split between Kairi, the reunion in Kingdom Hearts 2, Chain of Memories had Naminé's whole story. Birth by Sleep by far has the one that just gets me the most every single time, where you get that final ending and seeing Aqua walk through the realm of darkness and finally come across Ansem the Wise, and basically getting that confirmation that she can be saved, that there is somebody out there that can help all of them, and it's Sora. And it's not like Sora's declaring all this, it's just seeing all these people have faith in him and being able to rescue them. Damn, that makes me cry every time. I don't know why, but it's just like that. It's just a really genuine moment.
That kind of teaser, it's like a 6-minute ending teaser video that plays after that true ending in Birth by Sleep, where they all kind of say Sora's name and it all comes back together, where you find out that he's going to now have to come save all of them. It's brilliant, and I remember being totally caught up in that too, and getting all teary and emotional. And this is going to be, it's probably its own topic of conversation later, but so much of that is due to the brilliance of Yoko Shimomura. I can't even begin to talk about her genius well enough, but no, I completely hear what you're saying, Derek, and it's not for everybody, and it's certainly not for anybody who has ever used the term weeaboo in a negative sense. And if you're one of those people, we can't ever be friends. But it's not for everybody, and that's fine. But I wish people would stop acting like it's this objectively bad thing, because it's just a style, and that's all it is. It's a specific style of storytelling that is for some people and isn't for others, but it's not an inherently bad thing.
No, and for the style too, I think what it comes down to a lot, this is kind of my answer, but also kind of jumping on top of what you guys have already said. It's particular, and this isn't even just a Kingdom Hearts thing. A lot of great movies, stories, games, etc., TV shows, whatever, have really legendary kind of moments that you just will always remember. Particular things, and all of the major, even the spin-off games too, have these very particular. Because I've never played 358 Days Over 2, but the last scene between Roxas and Xion, is really heart-wrenching.
So good.
And actually, probably what might even be my favorite thus far, of all, is the big and partially because I used to watch. You want to talk about the deep dive trailer? I watched the original Birth by Sleep. The big fully animated trailer from Final Mix 2 with Ventus Terra and Aqua fighting Master Xehanort and Vanitas, and with that Advent Children style animation. I cannot even tell you how many times I watched that over and over, and then to actually find out that you, and this is why I'm excited to play Birth by Sleep finally, to live that. You get to play and experience that entire thing from all three of their perspectives, and seeing all this crazy dramatic shit happening, and I forget, I think it's like Fate of the Unknown or something is the track on that trailer.
Yeah.
Which is one of Shimomura's like most amazing pieces ever made. Holy crap. Like, but the moments like that, there's one or two or three or however many in every Kingdom Hearts game. And I feel like sometimes it's even just those moments that really just make people be like, this is awesome, and I'm totally on board with this. Like, shortcomings and all, it's just those particular kind of things are what make, what otherwise, may even be like, the fat in the middle, or like the not as great moments where it takes a while to get through that stuff. It's like, that stuff kind of helps tie it all together, and it is so well done. And it is, I think, what helps us, because Ash and Derek, and we all love Sonic the Hedgehog, and there's often comparisons to Sonic fans being in an abusive relationship with Sega. I don't think it's quite the same thing with Square and Kingdom Hearts necessarily, where it's like, no, I'll forgive the bad things because you love me. I don't think it's quite like that necessarily. Mm-hmm. It's more so that like that's the side of the enjoyment that we get out of it as fans. And that paints such a positive light that it like overpowers everything else, I guess you could say. In terms of specific characters too, as kind of part of the same sort of subtopic, any particular ones from any and all of them that really stood out to you, like any major ones that maybe you want to see back again or see more of or anything like that?
I'm super excited about the fact that with 2.8 we get a brand new sequence where you get to play as Aqua. I think Aqua is kind of underrated as a character. I think she really did have this great strength to her, and it was like she was more of a mother-like figure to Terra and Ventus, but you did feel that connection, and I don't know, she just really stood out to me. But I am that lame guy that I really do like Sora. I think he is a fine main character, and seeing how the games show again and again and again how he's not perfect. He has his weaknesses to them, and he either overcomes them or does have friends that can help fill in those gaps. And I think that does make it compelling to just see, like, even Dream Drop Distance, seeing how he's been manipulated the entire time, and they've been just messing with him throughout the entire game, and the fact that, shockingly, he does not pass his Mark of Mastery exam. That's like, you don't expect that.
And yet his first reaction is, "Oh my God, Riku, you passed! That's awesome!" I'm just like, yeah, that's the kind of person you are, and that's great.
Yeah, I specifically love that scene, because how many of us really, when you get down to brass tacks, how many of us in real life can say that we would react the same way Sora would in that scene? I don't think any of us can say that, because in the real world, people at least are a little selfish. They don't mean to be necessarily, but they are. But that's what I love about Sora. There's this purity to him. He's not perfect, as we said, but there is this purity of heart to him that he really is just genuinely happy for Riku. And it doesn't matter that he didn't pass. He really couldn't care less. And that's what's so great about him, is that he is focused on doing what's right, and he's focused on the end, not necessarily the means, which maybe he should be a little more, but he just wants to save everybody. He doesn't really care if he has the title of Master or not. And
it's a stark contrast, actually, to Birth by Sleep, where Terra is upset that he doesn't pass. He takes that hard because of that darkness within him, and because he gets it's a very compelling story where he gets turned to darkness because he was trying to avoid the darkness and purge that bit from him. And Riku is like sort of that opposite to Terra, where he ended up embracing the darkness and became stronger because of it, and just found that balance. And there was really great theming all across Kingdom Hearts. You just have to dig for it. You really do. And I think that's where a lot of people get turned off, where they get like, the story's too confusing. There's too many side projects. I can't keep track of it all. There is a vague barrier of entry, but if you can parse through all that and see these moments and see what they're trying to do with it, it's a lot of retconning in a couple of instances, but when they nail it, I really do think they nail it.
I couldn't have said it better myself, and I especially love the fact that you have this kind of this theme of passing things to the next generation, where we saw that Terra and Aqua met Sora and Riku when they were kids, and Terra decided to pass on his Keyblade to Riku. And we see that Riku made a lot of the same mistakes, and he had a lot of the same character flaws that Terra did. Ultimately, Riku overcame them better than Terra did, at least so far. But I love that, Aqua had and she's another character who I agree with you, Derek. I hate to make this sound like an echo chamber, but I love Aqua. And she's one of my favorite characters in the series. And I love how Aqua had the foresight to see that Keyblades ruin friendships. They ruin relationships. They create jealousy and anger and all this. So she thought Sora would be an ideal Keyblade candidate, but she decided to pass on him because she didn't want to see his friendship with Riku ruined. And look what happened when he did get a Keyblade, even though she didn't give it to him. And what's the best part about all of this is that she was right about everything, because Sora ends up being the one who's got to save everybody, and she was right when she saw him as a kid. She saw something in him and consciously chose not to pass on the Keyblade to him for completely separate reasons. And that's why she starts crying when she hears his name. She's like, whoa, that's that kid I met on Destiny Islands. And she was right all along, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, in addition to echoing that, I would say the Birth by Sleep trio of Ventus, Aqua, and Terra, just from watching the cutscenes, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later too with like the development of them, but their dynamic was just so well balanced and made for such a great, what I think so far is like the most solid story that we've had in the entire franchise. Mm-hmm. For that kind of reason, what I'm kind of hoping for too is because I like Kairi, and I really want Kairi to get to do something cool in 3 at all.
Yeah.
Like just obviously we know that she's going to be a Keyblade wielder, or she already is, but she's going to get trained. And she's going to be, I believe, one of the 7 Guardians of Light, more or less. So, and somebody pointed this out to me, but in 2, the final battle is Sora and Riku versus, that incarnation of Xehanort. So, what I'm hoping is that maybe the final battle will be Sora, Kairi, and Riku versus, them in particular versus whatever the final form of Xehanort is going to be in that game, because that would be a great kind of full circle for everything. I like her a lot. I feel like she suffers from a lot of the same issues as characters like Blossom from Powerpuff Girls, where like you have a very nice, like well-rounded character, but you're not really writing a whole lot of material for them, and I would like to see more of that because that would be cool, kind of thing. Also, weirdly, I really like the Kingdom Hearts version of Mickey Mouse.
Oh,
yes,
he's the best version of Mickey Mouse.
He's, and I love I love the shorts version recently, like the black and white new shorts that Disney's been doing. I think he's awesome. I love the Prince and the Pauper movie with that version of Mickey. I will say, and maybe at the risk of offending other voice actors that have played him, I don't know if Ash, you had the privilege of meeting Wayne Allwine when he was alive.
No.
But my God, for a character whose voice is basically like so ingrained in our culture that it's like kind of a joke almost, Wayne like still sold a perfectly dramatic performance as Mickey
he
in
really
the early
did.
Kingdom Hearts games.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, it's a feat. I mean, even Ben Diskin was like, yeah, no, like he's really good in 2 and etc. Like it's kind of amazing. And then I guess also on the you know what, I'll say this too. In replaying the games again, I think I've grown to have a bigger appreciation for Riku than I used to.
Yeah.
Because Riku's very easy to pick on because he's like, he's the emo guy or whatever. But like, I don't know. I feel like the shit that he goes through and like how he still manages to come out on top of it anyway is actually like pretty commendable.
You actually get to see him grow, like from the little shit that he was in the first Kingdom Hearts. And
we're naming it Highwind.
Exactly. And then, seeing him really just sacrificing himself and trying to help Sora throughout all of Kingdom Hearts 2, and then actually seeing the actual sacrifice in 358, what he does in order to help Sora. And then, of course, Dream Drop Distance, I think, does encapsulate showing his full circle, how he has completely turned around from his original appearance for the first Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, and it's funny too because I think I often try to in life, I think I try to be more like a Sora, but then I realize no, I'm more of a Riku. I think I'm more of a No, I have issues, and I get jealous, and I've done really stupid things, and I just want to try to do the right thing, and I'm not sure what that is. It's not to get too dramatic with it, but it's like I look at kind of all the stuff that he's been through, even all the way up to Dream Drop Distance, like you were saying, Derek, and it's like, yeah, no, it's all perfectly relatable, and it makes sense, but Sora being that kind of like unbridled force of good in everybody else's lives is, we have people like that, and that is, it is healthy to have those kind of people around because of, what we kind of learn and take away from them in that sort of way. Also, while we're on character notes, I do want to give special mention to the villains too, because the members of Organization 13 who have distinguishable personalities, I quite enjoy. Zigbar is and slash Braig is hilarious to me. I don't know what the hell they were.
I don't know, but I love him.
No, I don't know what the hell they were going for with the semi like surfer dude thing, but I don't care because it's great and he's hilarious. Axel, sometimes Axel I can find to be like a little like, all right, shut up, but like he's pretty endearing.
But ice cream, but sea salt ice cream time.
Yes, yeah, lots of ice cream all the time, and watching the sunsets with his boyfriend.
Saïx became surprisingly compelling as the games went on.
I'm hoping for Saïx will be interesting to me in 3 now that we know he has this kind of thing with Axel, because so far Saïx, Zaldin, Lexius, even Xemnas to an extent, like all of them are just like, yes, mysterious, blah. Have you seen Bleach? Know all of the Soul Reaper guys? We're basically all like them. It's like, yeah, okay.
Well, to be fair though, Saïx has the element of having a past with Lee, is it Lee, right? Yeah, Lee.
Yeah, it's Lee.
It's Isa and Lee, I think. So I would like to know what their deal is, if they were friends in their former lives, or what were they, because there's clearly some history there, and that has carried over into their incarnations as organization members. So I do find that a little interesting.
It's pretty funny too, because I'm realizing it to me. Often when I talk to people about like the ins and outs in Kingdom Hearts, I often have to say there are in-universe explanations for almost everything, and there's also out-of-universe explanations for almost everything, such as it's very clear that Saïx and Axel's thing was not intended to be the case when they wrote Kingdom Hearts. Like, you can tell there was never anything going on with them at all. And then it's like, okay, now we're going to set up for it in 358 Days. And then it became a plot point in Birth by Sleep. And it's like, oh, yeah, the nobodies that later went on to be number 7 and number 8 just so happened to also be there when the thing happened that made the original 6 members... It's because they're really popular and they retrofitted them to be in the game more. So I feel like in Saïx's case, I feel like it's probably because, like, all right, he didn't really have a whole lot going on for him. Let's make it so that he and Axel knew each other when they were humans, and then we'll tie him in with later stuff, and etc. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. I trust that they'll go somewhere with that. But offhandedly, he kind of blended together with a lot of the other ones for me, honestly. But I do like, I love Zigbar, I love Demix because he's a chode. Larkson. Actually, you know what? I'll say this: the one of the this kind of organization member, the only one of those that I thought was like actually compelling was Marluxia. And I was actually almost kind of sad to see him go because he would have been an interesting sort of Starscream, I feel, to the 2's plot. But he was fun. And part of me almost even kind of wishes that they went with the original plan of him being a girl. I get why they were like, oh, we didn't want to have both of the traders be women because we thought that would have come off as sexist. That's fair, but I think at least one female villain in King, like a real villain beyond Maleficent, obviously, who's great, would have been kind of cool.
Well,
but,
sorry, I do want to throw in a quick shout out for Larxene, because even though she is one of the only female villains, and she doesn't get to do a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, she has the great honor of being pretty much the only character across the entire series who has managed to truly piss Sora off, like makes Sora go for blood.
That's true.
You never see Sora angry, which is why those scenes are so impactful, because Larxene gets to him. She gets under his skin, which nobody else can do, not even Xemnas. And she just gets to him and makes him want to, like, absolutely destroy her. Not even just hurt her, but destroy her. And that's so interesting because you don't see that in Sora very often. So, shout out to Larxene for being able to piss Sora off.
Yeah, Chain of Memories, like Sora's interaction with those 6 members in particular, or Sora and Riku, I guess collectively, like those I think made for some really standout scenes for what was otherwise just kind of a spin-off game. I think was really cool. Mm-hmm. So I guess the next part of
I do want to give we're missing some villains here. The one that stands out the most is by far Xehanort, old Xehanort.
Of course,
and it sucks. It sucks so bad that Leonard Nimoy passed away.
And Shikao Otsuka too.
Yeah, we lost both versions, and he brought so much to that role. Like, I was damn near giddy. Yes, he became instantly iconic, and I was damn near giddy when he showed up again in Dream Drop Distance, because I love that character so much. He's such a great villain.
He really is.
And you hate him, but he's like the villain that you love to hate, and it's just great. And having Vanitas there is also really good, because you could just feel Haley Joel Osment having fun cutting loose with Vanitas.
I mean, because honestly, okay, I do like Vanitas purely for the most like stereotypical. This is such a fan wank. Like, what if there was an evil Sora?
He really is. Yeah.
Like, and his like reason for existing is like it's bullshit, but purely for
it makes sense in the Kingdom Hearts universe.
It does make sense, but it's also it's one of those like out of universe kind of. You think about it like, no, this was made because they wanted to have an evil Sora because they thought that would be cool, so they bullshit some kind of like long convoluted way as to how and why he looks like that kind of thing.
That's absolutely the case with Vanitas.
But again. Like and I think Miyu Irino is Sora's Japanese actor. Even him too. Like them getting to play a villain was so goddamn cool that like I was just like, all right, whatever. I'll take it. It's fine. Who cares? The other thing too I was going to say about Xehanort, just for the fact that both actors passed away in both languages. Part of me is kind of hoping that maybe like when Xehanort gets reincarnated in 3, like as his original self again, it'll be the young adult version, so it'll be Akio Otsuka and / Richard Epcar for it, just so it won't have to be like, oh no, it's not the way it is anymore.
Yeah.
Although that said, Ben Disk and I were talking about this. You know who would make a great Leonard Nimoy match, and who would also probably give a fantastic performance if they had to get somebody else for Master Xehanort? Fred Tatasciore. Who I've heard his Leonard Nimoy impression, I think he's done it in a couple games before, is really, really good. And he's an amazing performer, as I'm sure both of you guys know very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would be cool with that. But part of me also kind of hopes it'll just be like the young adult, or I guess not young adult, but like the not old man Xehanort, just so like we don't have to be sad, I guess.
They probably would want to be in his prime, so it would also make sense from a story perspective.
Yeah. Going back to Riku again before we move on, I had a couple things to say. I am definitely more of a Sora fan for sure. I'm not a hardcore Riku fan. I am more now because of this whole character arc. I think it's really cool. But one of my top 3 favorite lines in the entire series has completely to do with Riku, and that's the very end of Chain of Memories, the very, very end, last scene, where they've left Castle Oblivion, and I believe it's Diz who appears to him and says, hey, are you going to, the path diverges here, are you going to take the road to light or the road to darkness? And he's like, neither, I'm going to take the middle path. And Diz says, the twilight road to nightfall, and the camera closes in on Riku and he says, no, it's the road to dawn. And that's so...
When you walk away.
That is a great line.
That perfectly encapsulates why I love Kingdom Hearts, because it has shit like that, and it's so good. It's just so cheesy, but so good. And what I was going to say about Riku, the character himself, was that I originally wasn't as much of a fan because I feel like Riku came a little too close to suffering from Zero Syndrome, which what I call that basically in terms of Mega Man X. Zero almost kind of supplanted X as the main character, something I always hated, and because Zero then gets his own series later down the line. So I feel like Riku towed that line of almost upstaging Sora and making the whole story about him. But then kind of what I like is that Nomura, who's himself a self-admitted Sora fan, kind of reined that in. And it's like, okay, here's Riku's character arc. You've seen what he does. He's great. But Kingdom Hearts 3, where you're playing as Sora, the focus is squarely on Sora, and we want to make this about Sora's story. And I'm really glad they did that, because I don't think I'd feel the same way about Kingdom Hearts as a whole right now if Riku could kind of replace Sora as the main character.
Yeah, and I don't think that there was ever any intention for that. I think that really what it is it's a case like you think about like DBZ. Like Vegeta has infinitely more actual character development than Goku, and Goku is like the Sora, and that he's the the unyielding force of good, who just he's the guy who does that, and he has this innate talent, and he affects everybody in generally a pretty positive way for the most part. And that doesn't make him I don't think that necessarily makes him a bad character, but it's like, yeah, sometimes like when you have a hero like that who is like that sort of unyielding force of good, and then like the other characters are the ones who are like, they need help and they have their issues. Like that happens a lot with stuff, and I think that that's perfectly fine. And it's likewise with Goku, it doesn't make Sora a bad character. I love Sora too. It's funny because I was even saying before about I try to be more like Sora, and yet I am probably much more like a Riku. I think that striving to be like somebody who is like Sora in that kind of way, and that like you have a very positive outlook, and like you try to be a very big positive influence on people, I think has value to it in that kind of way. It's almost like a moral to take away from the story, but it makes for something interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think most of us, when we get right down to it, most of us are probably Rikus and not Soras.
Yeah,
we'd like to be Soras, but probably mostly Rikus.
Yeah,
I know some Soras.
Yeah.
I know some genuine like adorable people that just want everything to be wonderful kind of thing, and and I'm happy to have those people in my life as well, for sure. I guess we've kind of covered a few bits of this, but the next part of it was going to be what do you consider to be the worst aspects of it. I guess I'll start this time because we've been kind of talking about Birth by Sleep a lot. Something that Birth by Sleep kind of opened my eyes to is I realized something about the formula of what the stories of 1 and 2 kind of were. And this also then ties into the next part, which is what am I hoping for about 3. In Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, the formula is Sora, Donald, and Goofy go to a Disney World, they interact with the characters, basically live out the plot of whatever that movie was that it was based on, and they're just there for it, and the story continues onward. Maybe Sora or Donald or Goofy or whoever, says something to positively infect, whoever the main character or characters of that Disney movie were, and then they go about their merry way, and then they do the next thing, rinse and repeat, until eventually they make it to one of the non-Disney worlds where important plot-related things happen, and then, then it's their time for development. That's fine. And, again, if that was something bad, then the games would not nearly be as successful as they are. But the distinct difference that I noticed is that when I watched Birth by Sleep, it was the first time that my eyes were open to realizing, oh my god, I think this is really the first time where what happens in the Disney worlds actually matters in the long run. Because the difference is that in all 3 campaigns of Birth by Sleep, with Ventus, Aqua, and Terra, less so with Aqua, but because she's the one who's like kind of the most on top of her shit, because she knows what she's doing. Especially with Terra and Ventus, the point is that all of them, when they interact with the other characters in each of those worlds, they genuinely learn something, and they talk about it, and they think about it, and it has to do with their individual developments as characters, and all of the things that they learn from each of those individual levels comes into play and comes to a head when they all eventually meet back up a couple times throughout the story, because they all intertwine 2 or 3 times throughout the entire thing. And when I realized that, I looked at the plots of because I've gone back and watched the cutscenes or played the original ones a few times in between that. What I realized is, that doesn't really happen. Like, if anything, the Disney worlds sometimes seem a little bit like almost inconsequential, which, Ash, is probably the reason as to why, when you think about that, it's like, I'm more interested in what's happening with the original characters and not the Disney characters, because in the long run, they don't really tend to affect things that much.
Exactly.
So
and again, that's fine, because the game stories are still fine for what they are. But after getting a taste of that in Birth by Sleep, and I think they did a little bit in Recoded and Dream Drop Distance, like a little bit differently. Probably not to the same extent as with the Birth by Sleep trio characters, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for a little bit, is that maybe those experiences in the Disney worlds that'll be in Kingdom Hearts 3 might have a little bit of a stronger impact on the development of, Sora, Donald, Goofy, Kairi, Riku, Mickey, etc., in whatever ways they can. Because I feel like, if anything, that might be, it is what it is, one of the biggest weaknesses of the storytelling of those games,
I completely agree with that. And the only time, at least in a Sora starring Kingdom Hearts game, that I really noticed that there were character development happening within each of the Disney worlds was the first one. You go to Alice in Wonderland, that's where you learn about the rules about not interfering, and Sora decides, no, screw that, I'm helping people. And then it never comes up again that they shouldn't interfere with these other worlds' things, except for Atlantica. Tarzan is about him learning to work together with Donald and Goofy, and you get these little bits of character development, but it doesn't always tie into what's actually going on in the Disney world. And Birth by Sleep definitely refined that storytelling aspect. But then, as you said, they really haven't successfully managed to do that since. And I'm with you. I really hope that they can find a way to make the Disney worlds matter, because two is the most obvious example of, let's toss in as many popular Disney movies as we can. And just that, so people can say, oh, I'm going to Pirates of the Caribbean, or oh, I'm going to Lion King,
And not that that's not going to happen either. I mean, they don't have to make a fucking announcement, and we know that there's going to be a Frozen level in Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah. And that's fine, but even what I'm saying there is, if anything, here's, again, jumping ahead, what would be great is if, say, the player character that joins you or whatever in the Frozen level is Elsa, and she's learning from all of them about stuff, and then maybe Sora, Donald, and Goofy are learning things from her about what her deal is, and kind of helping her through her issues, or just something would be great. And maybe I would even enjoy it more than the actual fucking Frozen movie. But that's another subject. Yeah,
honestly, I feel like Riku would be a better match for the whole Frozen world anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I do agree with both of you. That's kind of constitutes one of the Kingdom Hearts series' main weaknesses. I would also add platforming to that list. I think as far as 3D platforming goes, Kingdom Hearts isn't exactly blazing any trails. I'd say it's kind of one of the more inferior 3D platformers out there.
Yeah.
But no, other than that, I agree with what you said, Derek, about how there are a few isolated instances of character development in the Kingdom Hearts 1 worlds, but I do want to call attention to one specific instance in Kingdom Hearts 2 that I really like, and that's Tron. And I love that there was continuity maintained in the Tron Legacy world in Dream Drop Distance, with Sora wondering, hey, where's Tron? Because Sora and Tron always had this kind of particular friendship where they really... It went beyond the friendships that Sora made with the other Disney characters in some way. It's kind of hard to explain exactly how, but Sora and Tron have this real friendship, and when you have to fight Rinsler in Dream Drop Distance, not only is that a really fucking hard fight that was really obnoxious, but it's really sad because you know that Sora, when he finds out that that's Tron, it's going to really hit him hard. And I love that the Tron Legacy world maintained continuity with the Tron world in Kingdom Hearts 2.
It's funny, yeah. Mike and I were even realizing, because I had told him there was a Tron Legacy level in that game, and we realized, oh yeah, I guess that does work with the continuity, because I think by the time you meet Tron into the events of the first movie have already happened for him, and then he was just because I think what was it, they said they stole the program from the Flynn's company or whatever, so Tron just happened to be in it or whatever. And I do. It's funny though on continuity where it's welcome to the Mulan and Lion King level that we know that you probably wanted in the first game. Hey, we sure do hope that you used Mushu and Simba as summons, because Simba knowing who they are is going to seem really weird if you didn't.
Little bit, but you are right, Ash. I kind of forgot about the Tron world, but that is in my opinion, the best Disney world in Kingdom Hearts 2, because it connects so much with the main plot line and really feels like you're moving on. That's the kind of integration that I love, and I wish that they would be able to maintain and keep doing. Just find that ways to make the Disney worlds connect to the main plot in some way.
It was good that it had the advantage of being technically sort of part of the Hollow Bastion stage, I guess, and that it was tied to the heavier story stuff. Yeah, it's funny too. I was rewatching Game Trailer's timeline video the other day, and then also I started watching through the Kingdom Hearts Mysteries videos that they collaborated with the KH Insider guys on. I have watched the time travel explanation one maybe about 6 times, and every time I feel like maybe I'm sort of getting how the time travel stuff worked in Birth by Sleep, but I still don't fully understand it, and I don't know if I ever will.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Like, see, for us, I know that it's fun to decipher that kind of stuff, like the lore stuff about the world, and like, oh, you know, what's going to happen with this, and how does this happen, and everything. Despite it being fairly enough being one of the things that people are the most critical of, because, like, you know, Mike and I were playing through the World That Never Was in 2, and, you know, when Riku has the body of Ansem / Xehanort's Heartless, it's like he sees Ansem the Wise. And, of course, it's like, how can we not make the joke of, oh, the guy whose name that the guy that I was pretending to be, who I didn't realize that was actually not his name, is the name of the guy who's over there, then he wasn't really pretending to be that guy. And just like, yeah, I know, we know. You know? It's like that kind of shit. It's like, yeah, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So, and it's weird because, again, we seem to enjoy deciphering those mystery parts of the lore and everything, and yet, yeah, they're convoluted as fuck, and I can never blame anybody for, you know, being like, wait, what is happening again? Why? Who is this? What is now, you know, kind of, not even people who are making fun of it, just like people who are, like, confused by it, kind of thing. But I don't know.
Dream Drop Distance was the one where I had a pretty firm grasp on everything, and that's not even me just going to fan sites. I'm just, like, piecing together just from me playing it and sort of absorbing what's going on. Like, oh, yeah, this connects with that, and re-watching all that. But Dream Drop Distance and experiencing that and trying to understand this time travel and the exact, like, I got the overarching thing that we're supposed to be understanding here, where he's formed a new organization. We have to bring together the 7, you know, warriors of light and fight against it. But it's still just poof. It's like absorbing all of that and seeing what's going on. It's just wow.
Yeah. I kind of just gave up on deciphering the sleeping worlds from the rest of the worlds, and it's not even really that, it's not made clear enough, I should say. If what happens at the world that never was at the end of Dream Drop Distance is all in Riku's dreams, or which are also Sora's dreams were within Riku's dreams, and it feels like the world never was actually exists, but it doesn't really, and it's all happening in the dream world. It's such a mess. And then they throw time travel into it. That's the one thing that Kingdom Hearts did not need. I mean, most things don't need time travel added to it. I mean, look what it...
Timeless River was like, all right, that's fine, it's a little pocket thing.
But they didn't need to make time travel an actual mechanic in the game's canon, is what I mean. And I just feel like most stories can't really bear the burden of time travel just because it's an incredibly tricky subject to do well. And Kingdom Hearts certainly can't either. And I just feel like that didn't need to be introduced.
I'm so looking forward to when 2.8 comes out and we're going to play Dream Drop Distance, and Ben Diskin is just going to be here every time young Xehanort comes on screen and he says some vague bullshit. Now that he and Heather have played through all of the games and he has a little bit of a better understanding of what everything is now, he's going to be like, oh, that's what I was talking about when I recorded all this, like, years ago. Because, you know, he was like, he was telling me, I grew up with Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I played those. I knew the stuff. I had absolutely no idea what I was talking about in any of the stuff I recorded on Young Xehanort. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think a lot of people who played the game had any idea what your character was talking about either.
That is probably the biggest weakness of Kingdom Hearts, where you have to play every single game. And I mean, we were telegraphed that right away with Chain of Memories. Like, you see Chain of Memories for the first time, you think in video game logic. I was like, oh, okay, this is just a nice little non-canon offshoot. Doesn't really matter. You play Kingdom Hearts 2, all of a sudden, everything that happened in that game ties into everything that happens into Kingdom Hearts 2, and it just continues. And I thought it was safe when I heard that Coded was coming out. I was, it's just a little cell phone game. Doesn't matter too much. No, there's at least a little bit of story-related stuff in Coded and Recoded. Then I hear about the website browser game that's coming out. I'm like,
Are we getting that anytime this century, by the way?
I don't know. Yeah, but a browser game. I was like, okay, I think we're safe. We don't need the story from from that Kingdom Hearts game. Nope.
Not wrong, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. Nope, she is canon. It's all necessary. Ties into Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm like, son of a bitch.
You know, and honestly, I've really lapsed as a fan. I mean, I'm still as into the series as I always was, and I can't wait for 3 and for 2.8. But there's so much of 3's backstory is predicated on knowledge of Kingdom Hearts Key or Kai or Chi, whatever the hell it's called.
I think
it is Kingdom Hearts Key, yeah.
Yeah.
But so much of it is predicated on the backstory that you get. I guess they're called the Foretellers or Foreseers. I don't know.
The Foretellers.
Yeah, I don't care about any of that, and I haven't even begun to research that or go into it, and I don't want to read about it. It's like I love FF13, but I hated the data log because I don't want to read about events. I want to experience them.
And I think that's why 2.8 is going to be really important because they're just going to tell us that.
I'm hoping to God Almighty the back cover will just give us like what we need to know about the because what could be cool about that is this is the very beginning of the timeline. This is like before the Keyblade War, and like the Foretellers look kind of cool, and I think it has to do with like where Xehanort came from with like the different like animal based Keyblades and stuff like that. So I'm intrigued. I just don't want to play the fucking cell phone game.
Yeah, exactly.
So if because you know what, I do think that it was smart that like on the two HD ports that they're like, all right, we know that probably not enough people want to replay 358 Days encoded, so let's just make fucking animated movies out of them, whatever. I'm glad that they're all ready, despite the fact that Unchained Key is like still very new and could be and have a big buck made off it anyway. I'm hoping that it will just be like you can just watch this, get what's going on with the lore that will be necessary to know about 3, and then fucking you don't have to play the actual cell phone game or whatever. Which I still don't even know what is the difference between Key and Unchained Key. I don't even know what the deal is with that.
Really, it's just the difference between Key was browser game and Unchained Key is taking that browser game and making it mobile.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So for like iPad and stuff. Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, too, this is kind of spinning it into a more sort of positive note. Something I learned recently, I think this is kind of a good sort of, note, again, to Birth by Sleep. Something I learned recently, I think it was from the creator of Gravity Falls. He was talking about this in an interview or something, where it's better when you have a long-running story, like a big mythos kind of sprawling story sort of thing, and you have big reveal moments. Excuse me. It's better when it's, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen. Yes. As opposed to, whoa, I didn't expect that was going to happen. Holy crap, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when I watched the full-length Birth by Sleep trailer from 2 Final Remix, or a Final Mix, like that big fight scene with all of them in the Keyblade graveyard, I remember when I put 2 and 2 together on Terra's haircut and his eyes going yellow, and the fact that his name was Terra and their names were kind of in accordance to, Sora, Kairi, and Riku with the land, sea, and air thing. I'm just like, I know exactly what's going to happen. He's going to get possessed by Xehanort. Xehanort's going to take over his body. His hair is going to go white, and he's going to become Apprentice Xehanort that we saw in 2, and that's exactly what happened. And I wasn't dissatisfied because that's what I guessed, and it was totally satisfying. It was totally well done. It was a great scene when that happened in the end of Terra's story. And that was cool. And sometimes when stuff like that does happen, I think that's a sign of, okay, well, but that was a cool idea, and they made it work. So not that I'm predicting too much about what's going to happen. I mean, I have hopes and dreams and aspirations for what might happen in 3. But stuff like that is what makes me think, okay, this stuff is done for a reason. There is thought put into this, even with the out-of-universe explanations sometimes with stuff. I think it just goes to show that, like, even though there's a dark side and a light side to everything with Kingdom Hearts, I guess you could say, and the light in the darkness is enough to to not lose hope on things. This is all coming together now, isn't it? It's all making sense.
Yeah,
with that.
That is the hope. I mean, they have gotten better about preparing you for these sort of reveals as the series goes on. Like it feels like Nomura has a complete idea of what he wants to tell. Because the thing about that reveal is that I didn't even think about that. I didn't realize it. Didn't even think about it. Just did not click for me. But as soon as it happened, I was like, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I kind of got goosebumps from just how appropriate it was. I didn't see it coming, but as soon as it happened, it felt like I'd known it all along. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome.
I suppose the last bit here, and I will preface this with, if you guys have not heard our GameXplain discussion, what was between me and Derrick and Ash, were you there for that one?
I think Ash, there was a couple that you unfortunately had to miss because of just your schedule.
That's true.
And we had SomeCallMeJohnny on, but
yes,
yeah, we've had a few discussions about Kingdom Hearts so far.
Well, we had one in particular. I unfortunately can't remember if Ash was part of that one or not, but it was one definitely with me and Derrick and Johnny, and we talked about the worlds that we're kind of hoping for in Kingdom Hearts 3. I'll have a link to that in the description because I definitely recommend checking that out. Because because I don't want to like repeat a lot of information that I said on there, as I'm sure you probably don't either want to do that, Derrick. But in general, things that you're hoping for or expecting or etc. about Kingdom Hearts 3, as we are hopefully maybe finally going to get it in the next year or so if we're lucky at this rate.
Well, we are getting a release date for Final Fantasy 15 on the March 30th, so
okay. A release date for the release date.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that tells me even more so that I do think that Kingdom Hearts 3 will come out 2017. I'm expecting end of this year for 2.8. As far as Kingdom Hearts 3, what I hope for, I want a fitting conclusion. The gameplay as it looks right now looks fun. I like the idea of adding in Disney rides is really clever and unique and completely something that only Kingdom Hearts could do. So I love that aspect to it. The fact that they're bringing in the shot lock system from Birth by Sleep makes me really happy for the combat system. And yes, pull from that game. Please pull from that game.
It seems like they're taking kind of bits and pieces from like Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, because I think they have the flow motion system or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, the engine of Kingdom Hearts 3 being like a greatest hits version of all the best gameplay elements of the previous ones bodes well.
Yes.
That makes me confident that it'll be a lot of fun to play.
Conclusions are so hard to nail, so that is my big one. It's just like, please nail this ending and make everything that we've been following so much worth it. The best example I have for that is I was a big fan of Lost at the time, and when I found out, like, okay, we have an end date in place, we know how we're going to end it, we're good to go. I'm like, okay, cool, we're not doing this meandering anymore. They have an ending. I'll get all the answers, and the show will be completely worth it. And they bungled the entire damn thing, and I hate that show now. I hate it. It was a waste of time.
I love the ending, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, but yeah, so that is. Conclusions are so hard to nail, and that's my big hope is that they are able to successfully wrap it up.
Well, and not just nail the ending, but another important element for me is make it an ending. Not just nail it, but make sure it's an ending, because money talks in entertainment, and one of the most important things that a lot of storytellers forget or are forced to forget because money talks is the fact that endings are just as important as beginnings. There is little I hate more in storytelling than a story that will not end because its property makes too much money. I want the story to end. Now, I don't want Kingdom Hearts to end. I know that it's going to continue probably forever, and there will be new characters. That's fine. Kingdom Hearts itself can continue, but let this conclude the story of Sora and Xehanort. I don't want there to be a tease for Kingdom Hearts 4 starring Sora and another incarnation of Xehanort. Endings are so important, not only getting them right, but having them at all. And I really want Kingdom Hearts 3 to be definitive. We've been waiting forever for this game, and that's fine. They're making it great, polishing it. Take as much time as you need, but make it a conclusion, And that's just something that not a lot of games or TV shows or really movie series, a lot of them aren't able to do that because they just keep going on and on and on. And it feels cheap. It robs the characters of some much needed development, and it disrupts a lot of heroes' journeys out there. So I want this to be a conclusion, and I can't state that enough.
Well, it's funny. I find myself once again bringing up the Dragon Ball Z comparison. Something interesting about DBZ, and this has happened now a few times with different kind of parts of the show. Akira Toriyama's kind of mentality was that he liked having okay, this is an end point, but also leaving things open, not just because Shonen Jump or whatever his publisher were like, oh well, this is making shit tons of money, so keep going. What his mentality was also, he liked having there be more out there to have your like things left up to your imagination. Like, Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball the comic, there were multiple points in the story where it was going to end, which that's a whole nother, that could be a curveball topic in itself with Vegito EX. But
I think there's like 5 ending different points that you could have ended.
Maybe even more than that. There's a whole great article about that my friend Mike Lippery wrote. But basically, in each of those endings, all of them, whether they were intended or otherwise, left things off with, okay, but, there could still be more out there, and Goku wants to continue training and fighting against strong opponents, and having adventures and having a great life, and etc., which is also part of the reason why all these years later now we're getting Dragon Ball Super, because they were able to fit more things in and do that. And even back in the day with Dragon Ball GT, but we don't talk about that. So in the case of this, I mean, we know that they're going to make more. And we also know that Sora is still going to be the main character for however predetermined amount of time.
Yeah, Nomura's already stated that. But he's also stated, which gives me a little bit more confidence that we're getting an actual ending with this whole idea, these story elements that we've been following, is that he said Kingdom Hearts 3 is the end of the Xehanort saga.
Yes, yeah. And even then, I mean, I think, Ash, I forget if I said this on a GameXplain or like when we were hanging out last time, I have a theory. I think that Xehanort is somehow going to get, like, reincarnated and then turned into a good guy somehow, because I think that he's too popular for them to just, like, completely kill off forever. We'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm totally fine with that, because I would probably prefer to be. But just based off of the out-of-universe explanations that happen with a lot of these things, I could very easily see that happening. But what I'm kind of more specifically hoping for, and Derek, we talked about this in the world suggestion one, where I'm kind of hoping that they save the non-first party Disney stuff for future games. Where I think it would be cool if they saved Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, that kind of stuff for later ones, and they just stick with the first party Disney things in 3, because there's still plenty of other levels that they could fill a whole game with, to be honest. And the part of the reason also why I want them to do that is if they have a bit of like a fresh start, not like a reboot or a soft reboot or whatever you want to determine it as. I'm saying if 4 is like the beginning of a new kind of thing with it, I think what could be interesting is if, say, okay, they reunite all of the Disney worlds together back into one big giant world, like the legends have always spoken about, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that happens, then if 3 ended off with, the only closest thing to a quote-unquote cliffhanger were, oh, but there's more out there. Like, we saved all of these worlds and we stopped the bad guy, but there's still plenty of other stuff out there and more adventures to be had.
And Sora just wants to explore.
Yeah. Or maybe all of them collectively or whatever kind of thing. Who knows? Like, that would be cool, because that's still an ending to the arc, but it's still leaving things open to the imagination. And more particularly on a creative side of things, it gives Nomura and his team, if, they're inevitably going to have to do more games, it allows them a lot more creative freedom, where, by leaving things as open as possible and not having all these other plot threads, dangling outward or whatever because of shit that's happened that wasn't resolved yet, then it's, oh, we have to make like 5 more spin-off games before we get up to, finally concluding this or whatever kind of thing. I think that having a fresh start with 4 and then going to the more like, unexpected stuff like Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar movies, etc., would be awesome. That's very specific, and I don't know if that would happen. I'm saying that kind of thinking from like the perspective of the creators, and that could be totally misplaced and not correct for all I know. But
But as a fan, that also really excites me. Because we get a proper conclusion, we have ways for the series to continue, and we get the promise of completely new worlds that Disney just acquired over the years, and finally visit those, and it'd be amazing. It really would be.
I don't know. Maybe I'm the outlier. I just talking about this is making me fatigued, just because I know what Nomura said. I know it's going to continue probably until the end of time. Endings are so important to me. I would rather them just put a bow on it and say, we had a week told a great, trilogy of games with a ton of interquels and prequels and sequels, fine, but let that be it and start a new story, like what Mass Effect Andromeda is doing. Like, you know, Mass Effect 3 is a definitive ending, whether you loved it or hated it. It is a definitive ending, and yeah, they may have gotten some things wrong with that, but good on them for actually having the balls to stick with an ending and not just make Mass Effect 4 because of all the money it would make. I really respect when creators do that and don't just take the easy way that's going to make them the most money. They actually end the story and they're starting something new, and that's what I wish Kingdom Hearts would do. I know it's not, and I'm prepared for that. I'm prepared for there to be a teaser at the end of 3 saying it's not over, but I just wish that we could still call it Kingdom Hearts, but give me a new main character, set it in a different universe, just, you know, carry on the conceit and the you know, certain aesthetic elements of Kingdom Hearts, thematic elements, sure, but I love conclusions. I like closure, and I know I'm probably not going to get the closure I want from Kingdom Hearts 3 already.
Well, I guess on that subject, though, if it were up to you, would you prefer for it to be like either a full-on reboot, or just have like a completely new character to take the place of Sora, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think maybe not a full-on reboot, but I wouldn't mind if Sora was in the game, but you know, maybe older, and there's, you know, maybe what kind of
you want to start Star Wars 7 situation.
Yeah, I want a new story. I want a new story with new characters, new mythology, because I want there to be closure with Sora and Kairi and Riku and Xehanort. I don't want their story to go on indefinitely, because I've been following this series, like you guys, since I was like 15. I want closure. Yeah. I'm 31 now. Like, I want to know what happens.
I'm a grown-ass man, goddammit.
It's like, I want to see the end of this story. I don't want to just keep going, as much as I love it, and that's the mark of a great story. You don't want it to end, even though you kind of do, because you care so much about these characters.
Yeah, it's the curse, man. I just want it to fucking end already, so Sora, Kairi, and Riku can finally admit that they're in a poly relationship, and just, you know.
Well, that was actually I was gonna touch on something about that. One thing I do hope from 3, specifically story and character wise, is, you know, I was a big fan of the totally innocent, really cute, kind of adorable romance between Sora and Kairi, and one of the most effective moments in the series, in my opinion, is when Kairi, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, when Kairi goes and discovers the drawings that Sora made of him giving her the Palpu fruit, and she finishes the drawing. That's such a heart-wrenching, wonderful moment. But then it kind of falls flat in 2, and as everyone knows, because Sora finally gets to be with Kairi again and focuses entirely on Riku. And look, I have no problem if they're gay for each other. Make that the case, fine. But that's not how they're written. He's obviously into Kairi, but that fell flat because he almost ignores Kairi entirely in favor of Riku. Bring back that kind of romantic element. Obviously, they're still they're teenagers, so it's not going to be, I don't want some grand love story, but it was cute, you know? Throw a bone to the fans who saw the fact that, you know, these kids like each other, and I don't know. Sora and Kairi didn't really get the.
You want to kiss?
Yeah, I kind of do.
See, okay, are we gonna get into this now? Because I kind of wanted to talk about this. Okay. I had that same opinion, and Mike and I just got through that very scene, and it's so easy to pick on the great VG Cats comic that was about it. We're like, Sora, I have boobs now, all that kind of thing. You know, here's the thing. So to be objective, first of all. At the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora knows that Kairi is fine, and she's back on the island, and everything's okay. And throughout the game, Sora, when he hears Kairi's name, he's like, "Whoa, wait, she was here? She was in Twilight Town?" Like, he's still very excitable about it.
Yeah.
But his perspective also is like, "Oh my God, like Kairi was safe before, and now where did she go?" Meanwhile, the last he heard of Riku was he was trapped behind the fucking door with 7 gajillion Heartless. And he's going around and, like, he doesn't even know if he's alive. He doesn't even know if he's okay. He doesn't know what's happened to him. So in comparison, and I even thought about this too. It's like, you know, if I had a lady friend and my equivalent, who would be Mike Lucas, was, like, lost, and I had no idea where he was, I would probably have the same kind of reaction, where if meanwhile I knew that, like, my girlfriend at the time was, like, fine, and I just had to go away because I had shit to do because that was important or whatever. This is getting very real now. I'm talking hypothetically, everybody. Please don't fucking misinterpret this, for Christ's sake. But I would have the same kind of reaction of like, oh my God, I fucking looked everywhere for you. Like, I'm so happy you're okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so seeing that in context, it's like, all right, yeah, it's easy to make that joke. It does make sense. Now, here's the other thing, though. I cannot remember. There have been interviews I have tried hunting for when I was doing my my Did You Know voice acting video and the Did You Know gaming video as well, that I cannot track down. There were things that Nomura said I swear I remember, particularly I feel like I remember something about how he said, I like to keep a lot of the relationships between the characters ambiguous because I like them to be relatable to a lot of different kinds of people. And when I was a teenager and I was first being introduced to, you know, kind of the hardcore, not even hardcore, but like teenage yaoi fandom, I used to look at that and scoff and be like, oh, for Christ's sake, it's just like, it's not even about the relationship, it's just about what do I consider to be hot and what am I getting off to or whatever, right? But as I kind of have had a little bit of a bigger perspective, and this isn't even like a mightier than thou kind of thing or whatever, I'm just saying, like, I feel like I've learned a lot more and I've opened my eyes up, because I look at like Axel and Roxas kind of thing, or, you know, like that sort of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And that is a complete, you know, even romanticism aside, it's a very relatable relationship that is very meaningful and very powerful. And like, because like, you know, the scene in 2 and I think in 358 Days as well, where he's like, no one would miss me. That's not true. I would. I'm just like, oh, you know, kind of thing. It's this, it iterates the same kind of reaction. And oh god, I feel so bad because I can't remember her name. There's an artist I found. I think it was when E3 was happening and they had one of the new Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers or something, whatever it was. I found this artist who draws this really great, not sexualized, mind you, fan art of Sora, Kairi, and Riku in a poly relationship. And I saw that, and I'm just like, I know that's so easy to be like, oh, haha, you know, fan art, but I'm just like, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm not even like, legitimately, it really does make sense. And I know that they would never, like, acknowledge that, but at the same time, I also, on that subject, Ash, I don't know if they ever even would flat out acknowledge those kind of relationships between the characters.
But they kind of already have, and that's what's so frustrating. If they hadn't already before, I wouldn't care. But they went to great pains to acknowledge the hell out of Sora and Kairi's relationship in Kingdom Hearts 1 and in Chain of Memories. So that's why it's frustrating. It's like, come on. But
you know what it could have been? It very well might have been that was what they were thinking of doing when maybe it was just going to be the one game and they had no idea if there would have been. That's the thing too. Sometimes you never know if you're going to be. Now they know they're doing a million sequels, of course, but at the time they probably had no fucking idea that anything was going to continue. Yeah. Same thing with, you know, we learned only in the last couple of years about the cartoon that almost happened, and the reason that they didn't do that is because they found out, oh, we're doing more games. And can you believe it? They didn't do the cartoon because they didn't want things to be even more confusing. Can you fucking imagine not only all of us deciphering all the shit happening with all of the games, the 7 or 8 games that are come out, and then also having to manage you know, a completely different interpretation of the events of the games through a cartoon. Like, you know, because I think about, I know that Ash, you're not big into Mega Man Battle Network.
That's
Battle
not
Network
true at all.
was
Wait. Who said that?
Wait, were you? Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, maybe I'm just thinking because you're more of a fan of X. But you do like Battle Network. Okay, I'm sorry. No, I'm confusing with somebody else. My bad. No, I should have just known. Sweeping, I love all Mega Man. How foolish of me. I apologize.
That's fine.
But on that note, then you'll relate to this. You know, there was the anime, there was the video games, and there was the manga. All three of them had different interpretations of the same material depending on whatever the newest game was out. That was easier to keep track of because everything was just a straight line. It was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it, right? And the couple spin-off games, but those were just kind of whatever. With Kingdom Hearts, if you imagine like how complicated everything from all those games, and then also a show, and even the manga, like the manga takes liberties sometimes, and they've added and changed, you know, little bits and pieces here and there. You know, and granted, I don't know how really popular in like the grand scheme of things the manga is, but yeah, that would have been like tremendously confusing to have that too. So I don't know, but either way, going back to the main point, my guess is like many things that have happened with the story, it very well could have been, oh, we're just expecting that it'll be like as black and white, you know, kind of. I hesitate to say milquetoast kind of romance. I mean, that's kind of what it is, I guess you could say. But I think that maybe what might have happened, if this is all entirely a theory, but maybe Nomura was like, well, I could do that, it's a little like that's been done a million times before, but maybe what might have more value, and maybe this was valuable to him, is like having it be kind of open and interpretable, because romance is so hard to get right on top of everything else, you know?
Yeah.
So, and listen, take it from me, I'm a shipper. I love that type of shit.
Yeah.
So I would also love to see that happen. I would be totally fine with that too. But I looking at it from an outsider's perspective, and even from a creator's perspective too, like as I've learned a lot about, you know, writing stuff and writing romances, even with Tome and with Cryamore and stuff like that, I could see the value in them also not wanting to make it a clear cut, like this is what happens and etc. So who knows?
I hear you. I'm just being selfish.
No, that's not selfish, because if they tease it, it's like, of course, like you have the want for that.
To be fair, they really haven't had Sora and Kairi interact that much since Kingdom Hearts 2, or really since the original. I mean, they haven't really interacted that much. And Sora does, you know, when the Nightmare Before Christmas world in Kingdom Hearts 2, he imagines dancing with Kairi.
That's true, he does.
Which, by the way, I never realized how creepy that was.
Oh, yeah, it's totally creepy seeing old Sora
with... Kid Kairi and he's the teenage.
I mean, it makes...
I didn't remember that. I have to go back and look at that.
It's adult... It's current Sora, and since he doesn't know what a new adult's Kairi looks like, it's young Kairi.
Yeah,
and you know,
if he was imagining the kid version of himself, that would be cute. But because it's teenage him and little Kairi, I'm just like, whoa, hold on a minute.
Yeah, that's a little weird. But yeah, still, him, like, when he finds out Kairi is in danger, he does get upset. He does take more of a concern. But I can completely agree, and that's the way I've always sort of reasoned it out, is for why he has such a reaction to finally finding Riku, is because it has been so long. Unfortunately, we haven't really had much between Sora and Kairi since Kingdom Hearts 2, because it's been prequels, and Recoded wasn't the real Sora, and you know, we got that little bit ending, and then Dream Drop Distance, Kairi's doing her own little thing, kinda, while he's doing his test. So there's been no way to progress that relationship, because it really does seem to be preserved only for the main titles.
Well, true, and if nothing else, it does seem like Kingdom Hearts 3 will provide plenty of moments for character interaction between Sora and Kairi again, because they're setting her up to be one of the 7 Guardians of Light.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, more so than absolutely anything else, I just want Kairi to get to do something cool. Like, because even like you play as Riku for 5 seconds in 2 at the end when you're fighting Xemnas or whatever, and it's like, that was cool. I don't know if we're probably not going to get something like that very much, because I assume they're going to just focus on the Sora, Donald, and Goofy gameplay more than anything, which is totally fine. But just story wise, her getting to just fight somebody and or defeat somebody or just do something cool related to the plot, aside from just being like, you know, a damsel in distress.
Yeah,
kind
I
of
totally
thing.
agree.
Even though she's cool and I like her as a character, she's put in the damsel of distress position.
Yeah.
I have faith, because they're setting it up like, no, she's going to be cool, she can fight, she has a Keyblade, she's willing to help, she's wanted to help all this time, kind of thing. So I will hold on to that feeling, Streetlights people. And then I guess, well, you know, Ash, because we didn't do this discussion with you, you and I talked about this separately, I think, was what it was. And real quick, just a couple Disney or otherwise worlds that you want to see in 3. Why not?
The Incredibles.
Okay.
I know you were talking about how leaving Pixar for later titles, but I do kind of want to see some Pixar movies represented in Kingdom Hearts 3. So The Incredibles for sure. Cool. What else? I'm trying to think of like the recent Disney movies I've seen. I wouldn't mind seeing Up, but I'm not sure that would make for a very adventurous, fun story in a game. So, you know, maybe not that, but I'll leave it at The Incredibles for now. But I'll see if I can think of any more. But The Incredibles is like one of my favorite Pixar movies, and really one of my favorite movies of all time. So,
absolutely.
So if it had to be one Pixar movie for me, I would want it to be The Incredibles.
Sure. Derrick, how about you?
I don't know why, but I've always really wanted to see a Robin Hood world. I have a strange affection for that movie, and especially since they've already covered most of the big 90s ones. And, you know, I'm not going to say, we've got all the modern ones, of course, are going to be in there with Tangled Frozen. Wreck-It Ralph, of course, would be very cool as well.
Wreck-It Ralph would be awesome.
and sort of in fitting and all that. But as far as like doing that classic sort of like, okay, let's have a Disney world in here, in a classic Disney world, Robin Hood stands out to me. Plus, it'd be really cool. He'd be a pretty fun party member to have a arrow shooting fox helping you out with the Heartless. I don't know. I think it could work.
Full support behind that. So many people forget about the animated Robin Hood movie, and it was actually awesome. I watched that movie. I can't even imagine how many times as a kid. It was
so many times.
Favorite Disney movies, and
I was legitimately sad when I was legitimately sad when I found out that the voice actor for Robin Hood, who I never knew who it was, passed away recently. And it's just like, damn. It was just like I had no idea he was still around, but he is an iconic performance to me.
Yeah,
it's funny too. Just kind of on that quick subject, I don't think that that I can recall any of the Robin Hood characters have appeared much in like other Disney stuff, because like a lot of those classic characters, they have like voice actor matches now in modern stuff when they were in like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and stuff like that or whatever. And a lot of those people, like Suzanne Blakesley does Maleficent, matches the original actress from Sleeping Beauty perfectly. I don't know if any of those have appeared, so maybe we'll get to see them if they did a Robin Hood level, which could be really cool. Maybe we'll get to hey, maybe your dad will get to be Robin Hood or Prince John or something. That could be kind of funny.
I would love that. I would just love to see Robin Hood represented at all, just because so many people have forgotten about that movie.
Yeah, I mean, because also on the current note of something that's coming out, Zootopia looks like it could be really cool, just based entirely on the location. It might be a little bit too new for it to be fitting into the production cycle or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like some other level where like, because I don't think we're gonna get a Lion King 2 stage, honestly. But some other level where like Sora, Donald, and Goofy get like turned into like animal, or like I guess other animals or something. In the case of the other two, it could be kind of cool.
We got to make Goofy a turtle again.
Yeah, he's just cursed to just forever be a turtle. For me, the number one, Wreck-It Ralph. Just it has to. Please, for the love of God, I need Wreck-It Ralph.
That would be really cool. I thought about that after I said The Incredibles. The only thing I wouldn't want from Wreck-It Ralph is kind of a fourth wall breaking idea where Sora and company acknowledge that they're in a video game. I don't want that. But if they can avoid that, then I think Wreck-It Ralph would be really cool.
Honestly, looking at Sora and his familiarity with technology, he'd probably be like, what the hell's a video game?
That's true, actually.
Well, I mean, it'd be interesting, because I could see maybe the arcade, or if not Mr. Litwack's arcade, just the different arcade machines being somewhere in, like, I don't know, like Twilight Town,
sure.
or Radiant Garden or something like that, and then you go into the circuit breaker, and then Grand Central Station is the Wreck-It Ralph level, in which case then you can go to each of the different game worlds and stuff. Actually, on that note, something kind of cool I thought, I forget if I mentioned this on the GameXplain discussion, but fuck it, whatever, would be kind of funny is, since we have a arcade version of Dissidia coming out very soon, if perhaps an optional boss fight in Game Central Station somewhere against another Final Fantasy character mixed in there could be kind of funny.
I just want to be Lightning just to piss people off.
Oh, see, my first thought immediately went to Warrior of Light. Get that classic Final Fantasy.
The Final Fantasy one. Yeah, that could be cool.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing. Make people happy, Derek. I want it to be Lightning, so just to see
because you're that's because you're just a hateful person.
I think that's the thing though. I think that Lightning would be much more likely of just a character to just be in the story somewhere, like Cloud and like the Hollow Bastion. Like,
I would not be surprised if she does show up.
Yeah. I mean, because she's such a. I mean, say I don't know shit about 13, so I can't even comment. Whatever, but like Lightning is super popular. She seems like a cool character. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. Or maybe work in like Noctis or somebody from 15.
Well, and Lightning is like Nomura's baby too. So
okay. Well, then there you go. Absolutely. Yeah. I honestly I could see her being like in the real world and not like the Warrior of Light or somebody classic from like one of the early Final Fantasy games. I could see more likely to be like a Dissidia optional boss. Anyway, back on track. The unrealistic one that I know is not going to happen just because like not enough people care about the movie, and Treasure Planet.
That would be
Treasure
really cool.
Planet.
Yeah.
As a setting, I'd be down for it.
Yeah,
it'd be such a cool. Even if like I know the story's not like amazing. I like the movie personally, but I know it's not a great movie, but just the location of that one would be so fucking amazing.
And they could easily make it work with the gummy ships and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it could, like that stuff could just be like floating in like the space zone or whatever of the the Kingdom Hearts universe.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did with Stitch.
Yeah. I think that Lilo and Stitch might be possible, like just like Hawaii, more or less, because we haven't been to that part of the movie in the other Kingdom Hearts games yet. What else would there be? I guess Frozen. I wouldn't mind because like if they do something cool with it, that'll be okay. Tangled, I'm looking forward to because I love that movie. Princess and the Frog, I think could make for a cool stage. I feel like that's, even though it didn't do amazingly in the box office, I feel like that's much more likely than Treasure Planet.
Yeah, I agree.
To get picked.
I do love that they're
Home on the Range.
Story.
What's
Home
that?
on the Range.
Oh wow!
Shut up. Brother Bear. Actually, Brother Bear's not that bad of a movie.
Yeah.
But,
I do like that they're continuing the story officially of Big Hero 6 within Kingdom Hearts 3. I think that
is cool.
Yes, definitely. And again, even like with I'm not gonna complain if we do get a Pixar level or a Star Wars level or a Marvel level at all. I'm totally fine. Even though I would like to see them save them for the later ones. I want to see all that shit. I want to see Toy Story. I want to see Bug's Life. Definitely Incredibles. A lot of that stuff. I would love to see their interpretation on that at some point. Definitely.
Yeah.
I want to see Pixar like crazy, but throw me in the crowd that kind of doesn't want to see Star Wars or Marvel. I just don't really want to see those cross over into Kingdom Hearts. I mean, I'm sure there'd be nothing wrong with it, but I just don't. I don't know. When I think about Spider-Man in Kingdom Hearts, my heart doesn't exactly flutter. I'm just like, eh.
I mean, it would have to be... because for one thing, the Marvel Universe is one world.
Yeah.
So that would have to be done very particularly. And then Star Wars is the same kind of way, where it's like it's a galaxy far, far away is the entire world. And that's like... Well, that's a whole other, can of worms to open, I guess you could say. Which, again, that's part of the reason why I think they're better off saving... those kind of things for a separate game where they don't have to worry about kind of sticking to the same formula if they want to like reinvent things a little bit. But I mean, I think they could work. They just have to be done very carefully and very like sensibly, I guess, like that makes sense within like the confines of how Kingdom Hearts is. I guess I don't know. We'll see what happens, but who knows? When is the next like Kingdom Hearts like event happening?
There's been no word, so probably E3.
Yeah,
okay.
That'd be my guess.
They wouldn't do anything for like PAX East or anything.
No,
right?
I highly doubt that.
But yeah,
I think for now, I think it's going to be mainly focused on the Final Fantasy 15 hype machine since that game's actually coming out this year.
My guess is come E3 we'll get a release date for 2.8 and a new trailer for 3.
Probably another world or two revealed. Hopefully. Well, I mean, I if all goes well, I can't say for sure, but hopefully I will be at E3 for the first time this summer. In which case, also, hopefully I'll get to hang out with maybe all three of you guys at once.
Yeah, we'll be
I'll be down.
Because I've only gotten to hang out with. Actually, if that's the case, and if Rob is able to come too, Ash, you and him can finally spit your salt at each other in person over Smash Brothers.
Well, what are we salty about again? I can't remember. Just because we're competing with each other, or does he like Melee or something? I can't. What are we salty about? I can't quite remember.
Everything.
Okay, fair enough.
That's Rob Porter, by the way, for everybody who might have been confused.
You're talking about Rob Porter. Oh, okay, I didn't know you meant it Rob just at first. Okay.
Yes, we'll
totally.
Yes.
No, we'll just compete because he and I have some good back and forth matches.
Oh my god. Guys. I do believe you have broken my record for the longest running Kirblog ever. You have beaten Ben Diskin's record of an hour and a half. We are now about an hour and 45 minutes into this. This was awesome and a great way to start off the month. So thank both of you guys. I know that you're all busy with tons of shit all the time, as am I usually. But this was a lot of fun. Any closing thoughts before we kind of end things here?
Well, the funny thing is, we've talked for an hour 45 minutes. I could keep going. That's the funny thing about Kingdom Hearts.
Here's the sad part. We didn't even talk about the music.
Oh, you know what? Please, because why not?
I mean, what is there to really say? I mean, honestly, we could have a whole conversation for 2 hours, probably about the music alone, just because Shimomura is such a genius. I will say specifically that what I love about her music in Kingdom Hearts is her brilliant use of leitmotif, and just the fact that she weaves these character themes in throughout the entire series and in such perfect places. The fact that you can hear chords from Sora's theme in the Battle of Vanitas is brilliant, and she's so good.
Kyrie's theme and Roxas's theme, I think, is in there, or Ventus's maybe, I forget.
Yeah.
And she's so good at that,
yeah.
and that's so good, great for something like Kingdom Hearts. And again, we could have this conversation forever, but I did get to meet her, like you said, and that was I don't get starstruck very easily because my dad is a celebrity. I grew up around celebritydom, so I don't get starstruck really ever. She starstruck me. Like I basically I was at the Kingdom Hearts 2.5 launch event. And I did something I normally wouldn't do because she was there to do a piano performance for us live. And as we were all leaving, I did what I normally would never do, and I went to a Square Enix rep, and I was like, can I please shake her hand and take a picture with her? Would she mind? If not, I'm not trying to be creepy. She's like a hero of mine. And they were so nice. Like, of course. So, and she could not have been more humble either. Like, it was so heartwarming to see how nice a person she is. And she's just completely humble, and I love her work in Kingdom Hearts. I love her work in everything else, and I cannot wait to hear what she has in store for 3.
Well,
absolutely.
Well, that's my big question, actually, for you. To just do a general thing. Did you know of Shimomura before Kingdom Hearts? Because I didn't. When I heard it wasn't going to be. I'm feeling so bad about this.
Uematsu.
Yeah, Uematsu. Like, because that's who you connect with Final Fantasy. It's like, oh, it's going to be Uematsu doing all these remixes, and then I heard like Yoko Shimomura. Who the hell is that?
No, I knew who she was. I've, as you know, Derek, I'm a game music aficionado. Like, I've been into video game music. Like the first CD or album I ever bought with my own money as a kid was Kefka's Domain, the U.S. release of the Final Fantasy VI soundtrack. So
wow.
I am a game music nerd. So I knew of Shimomura before Kingdom Hearts because she had done Super Mario RPG, Parasite Eve, and I was already a fan of her then. So that just made me excited to have her on board for Kingdom Hearts.
I had a similar kind of experience many years ago at Comic-Con with actually Keiji Inafune.
Oh, nice.
Where I got to meet him, and he signed and did a little sketch for me, which was amazing. On the note of Shimomura-san, my God, like I felt like such a moron when I didn't realize, oh my God, this is the person that did all the Mario RPG music. Because now when I hear like the xylophone kind of instruments or whatever, like there's little like quirks to her melodies that are so like
it's unmistakable.
Absolutely that and she did. I had no idea she did Street Fighter 2. I had no idea until like this year when Ryu was announced for Smash. I was like, wait, she did all that stuff?
She did, and I'm about to go crazy. Oh, go ahead there.
No, I didn't no idea about that either, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm about to drop a crazy piece of trivia on both of you guys, which I don't think either of you could possibly know. Maybe you, Derek, because I might have talked about it before. But Yoko Shimomura is actually uncredited for one track in Mega Man 5. And it happens to be my favorite Mega Man Classic song across the entire Classic series, and that is the Wily Castle theme for Mega Man 5.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
She did that
awesome.
theme alone, and she's uncredited for it, but it is a little-known piece of trivia that she did the Wily Castle theme for Mega Man 5.
No shit.
Yeah. I'll have to listen to that again just to see if I could tell.
Yeah.
It's funny, too, on like the game development side of things, like we're working on Cryamore, and I'm so looking forward to like Ivy and Steven, our two composers, doing like our big final boss theme. In the same kind of way, I'm like, oh my God, what is like the big bad, like the big badass like final battle with Xehanort, assumingly.
Oh God, I can't wait.
Theme gonna sound like when we finally, it's gonna be like this giant like collection of everything or something completely new, or I don't even know. I hope to God if what was it? If the HD ports was any indication, like that she'll get given a full orchestra for 3. Mm-hmm. Like, please let that happen.
I think they very well could do that. I mean, it seems like that's the kind of thing they would. Square's always been really good about spending a large budget on music. So I feel like for Kingdom Hearts 3, they're gonna go all out.
The game has to have a massive budget.
I know. We you're not joking. We could go on for hours more. How fitting that this is my longest Kirblog yet. For Christ's sake. Well, thank you guys so much. Twitters, YouTubes, etc. Anything you guys want to plug? Go for it, please.
Ash, you go first.
Oh, okay. Oh. Well, you can. Of course, I'm one of the guys at GameXplain. You can find me on Twitter at Ash Paulsen. My name. I'm kind of boring that way. ASHPAULSEN. Also, if you're a fan of video game art, I am the senior editor at Udon Entertainment, and we do awesome art books for series like Mega Man, Okami, Street Fighter, Persona, all sorts of cool stuff. And if you like typo-free art books, you can find my work in all those art books as well.
Yes, I have a few of them myself. They're quite.
I do too.
So.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, I'm the, I guess, second in command at GameXplain. I don't know how that works. We just work together and just get it done.
You're Andre's bitch.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Not
fitting.
Really. Oh my god.
But yeah, no, I just do all the kind of stuff, analysis, discussion, streaming a lot lately. Just check out those various things. You can follow me on Twitter at Bitnerd, BITNERDGX. BitnerGX. So yeah, it's kind of fitting name, honestly, when you put all that together. But yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at plugging myself, so I'm going to go pass it all back to you, Kirb.
Oh no, I'm gonna say check out GameXplain's Patreon.
Oh yeah,
they just launched that. These guys work super hard all the time. I've had the great pleasure for the last like year or so.
Yeah, you got in contact with us during the big E3 with Smash. That's when you first got in contact with me.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I always have a great time. If you guys haven't heard any of the discussion videos that I've done with them, they work their asses off dissecting the shit out of trailers and all these different things. And they do great work. So if you have any support to lend and want to check out what they have to offer on their Patreon, go give that a gander. And I'm sure you'll probably be hearing me, hopefully, again on their show. At some
definitely, because I want
to, and hopefully we'll have you guys on this again at some point too, if a topic comes up. And I guess that's gonna do it, everybody. So finally, 2 hours later, in the comments below, please tell us all of your thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, aspirations, everything. About Kingdom Hearts, if you are a fan, which I'm assuming if you're listening to this and made it all 2 hours in, that you are. Come leave your thoughts, and if you have ideas for future Kirblog topics, Kingdom Hearts or otherwise related, or maybe even other subjects for us to talk about, for me to have these guys back on again, leave a comment about that too, or hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, whatever you want, and I will see you all in the Dark Realm.